Art of navigation, charting one's personal course. Whether taken analogously, literally, metaphorically, or symbolically, 'tis a life-saving saying, akin to embarking upon or setting sail into the uncharted territory. So to speak of venturing into the wild blue yonder, where once the journey hath begun, there's no turning back. And even if one doth somehow, a transformation is nevertheless underway and set in motion. Reversal here is futile, for the universe only advances anyway. It's merely a and or the metaphorical death and birth of something new to develop and grow. Whereas the lessons and initiations of the winter solstice was, were, and or are about acquiring ways and means which work, as in tools and allies alike, to assist in the implementation of one's otherwise well-laid plans come spring. These next 2 lunar weeks come as a double-edged reality check of sorts. So be forewarned, for though one may realize and know thou art not necessarily alone nor without resources and support, fact of the matter is, no matter what, one is ultimately on their own. And yet, that's exactly the self-propelled power and understanding it takes to gain and sustain momentum in the first and last place. See, what Mother Nature wants us to comprehend and understand at and about this particular part and or point of and or in Her Majesty's cyclical curriculum vitae is the sobering truth that in spite of all the materials or tools and helpful hands or support and advice one may amass, including from elementals and spirit guides alike, they are but artifices, no more nor less than informants, albeit nevertheless of the highest or lowest order of creation. And any action, choice, engagement, and or movement is ultimately up to you and you alone to solely instigate and maintain. The pagans, or more at the Vikings' teachings, taught and or told tales of the fine art or balancing act of knowing how and where to best utilize one's resources, as well as when such use is most conducive, including the allies too, most respectfully speaking. What's demanded of one currently is to come into an even closer relationship with thyself and converse with all aspects of mind, body, and soul, from ego to id, and ye very life force itself. For everything perceived, even that which is beyond perception, is here and or there to inform thee most divinely. Simply put, for the sake of one's own best interest. However, it takes keeping said or given diversity of components and possibilities fully available and open in order to be in line with synchronicity, as it so happens, and hence instinctively know and or be shown the best course of action or path to go under whatever the present circumstances, dynamics, or situation may or might be. To be sure, 'tis a most excellent and invaluably useful skill to acquire and build, indeed, specifically for come what may. And herein lies the relevant reasoning for this next lunar half month of the season, from 1228 to 113, in the realization that authorization or consent must be given, not taken, for fundamental and or far-reaching and or thorough changes are afoot, which can't otherwise be coaxed or coerced. Rather, they must be caressed with care and finesse. The Vikings revered this as the time of the ewe, as depicted in the EIHWAS, when Odin hung and swung himself over the gaping abyss upon the branches of Yggdrasil, the world tree, metaphorically speaking, of course, in order to advance into the transpersonal sphere of influence known as trance, akin to the trials and tribulations of shamanic journeying for the sake of retrieving enlightenment and greater powers of understanding still. 'Tis merely the fulcrum of reconciliation between that which is known and what lies beyond that which is not. And yet, a hell of a harrowing trek and or task to willfully undertake at that. And like climbing the trunk of a tree to access its nethermost reaches for the ripest or most prized produce, the connotation and or prospect of is fraught with risk and danger, all the while ascending and descending, where each successive branch or level of influence is sure to present its own set of unique challenges and ordeals to contend with, overcome, and accept. However, this and that is not to be interpreted literally. Alas, likely why so few try to attain and or awaken same faculty, no doubt due to some irrational fear. And therein lies the key to managing the unfolding mystery. That is, as in, what fostering anticipation and contingency can do for you, instead of succumbing to dumbfoundedness or surprise, as this and that arises. Of course, certain aspects of which can be traumatic, if not life-threatening when approached without forewarning or preparation. Then again, such is the paradoxical nature of profound transformation. Ironically, shit's bound to happen in one way, shape, fashion, form, or another. It's as is hard to say and hear. The truth hurts. Yet only the hard part of getting to the kernel or heart of a matter. Get it? The reference being in direct relation to initiations or rites of passage in order for one to develop and grow beyond the physical barrier between the conscious and unconscious worlds, which of course requires leaving the body, though not thy mind, behind, in order to retrieve or perceive what's availably needed in order to prevail or succeed in life, from however shallow or deeply one must go. Granted, it can be stressful if not painful, though only mentally speaking in general, thankfully. Although the emotional response is solely in the eyes of the beholder, in which case realize this: that which hurts is actually meant to make one stronger still, not by virtue of standing in one's own power, no matter what, which doesn't often happen, yet does on occasion, but rather in the act of merely enduring or withstanding whatever doldrum or onslaught might be slung or thrust upon thee. However, it's tentative, in which case, right now, for the next couple of lunar bi-weeks, is a rare opportunity to most easily go with said flow and realize the potential radical change can bring about, firsthand no less, without harm nor repercussion, while the very elements to do just that are at one's beck, call, and disposal. Consider it as a sort of hall pass, or a benign time to preview, or take a test drive, if you like, to move most determinedly, to forge ahead most valiantly, and breathe most easily through given changes most gracefully. This particular point in current events, or this same time of every year, is where what happened in ours and our ancestors past coincides or joins with how one conducts himself now. And the way one proceeds from here on out and into the following lunar bi-week ahead, from 113 to 128 presumably, is of utmost relevance as is the importance of the relationship between these two periods to one another. That is, after putting one's house in order, see previous post 1213, in meeting ends and or endings here and now. What this present post is basically about, come next lunar half-month period, one drops all pretense to make peace with that which is real. In fact, nothing can cross said line but one's bare naked self. And from there, only then, begin weaving the threads of one's own personal fate, destiny, and or masterpiece into the collective tapestry we call life. Just remember, some threads one controls, while some we don't. And in illuminated light of this and that said, hath thou the formula by which to make it work, via progressively graduating through the ritualistic opportunities or initiations dearly beloved Mother Nature intends and implores us to experience, which the Vikings of old have so aptly translated for us via the calendarized staves of the Elder Firthark. Deny her Majesty's sacred femininity to own demise and detriment. Be respectful and wise. EIHWAS.